we talk about how we usually design that pleasure user side without paying attention about the unwanted noise or sound clarity that affect the user function. Without further ado, I will hand over the session to Rob. Time and place at yours, please.
Hi
Hello,
there, how you doing?
Rob.
Hello,
Yeah,
how are you?
good. I'm doing great. Hope you're doing good too.
Absolutely. I'm just having some trouble sharing my screen to show my presentation. Okay, here we go. I think it's working.
Okay.
Here we go.
Start
Can you see that okay?
Topic right now. Yeah, it's clear.
Great, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome.
Are you okay for me to begin?
Yeah, it's okay. You may start now.
Fantastic. A few objectives today that we'd like to talk about really this concept around designing with your ears as well as your eyes. With architects, we often look to design spaces that look amazing and look beautiful, but to have a space that really performs well, you need to think about what it sounds like and how that space is going to work when occupied with people to be a productive space. So we'll spend some time talking about that. Also, understanding the difference between NRC and STC. These two acoustic terms are some of the more basic terms, and they'll be the terms that you as architects will see when you are specifying acoustic products, and it's very important to know the difference between these two. And also we'll look at some examples and case studies of AUTEX, both custom acoustic solutions and some more standard options. And we'll quickly look at the new website, where to find our products, and speak briefly about the printer, which is a new machine that we're about to install that gives you a range of new design options. A little bit about AUTEX for those that don't know. We're a privately owned New Zealand company. We started in 1967, so we've been around a long time, manufacturing a range of different textile products, and more recently, we've really centered in the acoustic interiors space. We manufacture here in Auckland, in Australia, both in Melbourne and Sydney, and in the US, we manufacture in Los Angeles and Huddersfield in the UK. Primarily, we manufacture acoustic interiors products and also some acoustic insulation. Our purpose really is to be recognized globally to really sort of bring ingenuity alive and design in a sustainable way to create products that inspire spaces where people come together. That's really what we want to do, is create these spaces that are unique, that are beautiful, and that function and work really well. Polyester is a key point of difference for us, and the reason why we have a very strong sustainable message within our business. And what that means is polyester comes from recycled, chipped up Coke bottles and plastic bottles, PET, and we use a large proportion of recycled content in the products that we make. We only use heat and a needling technique to bond our product, so there's no other chemicals and nasty products in there binding our products together. So very safe to touch, they last a very long time, they're resistant to moisture and water, they're easily cleanable, and they can be recycled at the end of their life. Okay. We're being specified in some really exciting projects around the world. We're in the Empire State Building in the US. We're in Google offices in Hong Kong. We're in Adobe offices in London in the UK. So really for us, we love being a supplier into some of these fantastic buildings that are designed by people like you.
That's great. Okay.
Shall I carry on?
Yeah, can we move on?
There's a great TED talk. I do have the link up here, but if you Google Julian Treasure, his TED talk, it's a fantastic 10-minute long video that really describes the concept around designing with your ears as well as your eyes. He talks around a few certain buildings, such as hospitals and education, and talks around how you need good acoustics in a space to be able to heal properly your body. You need to have an environment that's conducive to that. And also for education, hearing what the teacher is saying. A lot of students miss certain words that the teacher is saying when the acoustics aren't right within that space. Internal noise is a significant factor in terms of occupant satisfaction and well-being. Poor acoustics can lead to people having headaches, their stress levels going up, their heart racing faster, all things that put your body under stress. Can have a major influence on productivity in the workplace, and it is recognised as a health hazard by the World Health Organization. So over a certain decibel level, it can actually have some long-term impact and detriment to your health. Getting to these two acoustic terminologies, NRC and STC, they are completely exclusive of each other. So they're almost opposites in terms of how they operate. NRC is a noise reduction coefficient, and that is a material with a high NRC helps to absorb sound. So within a space with a lot of hard surfaces, you will get sound that bounces around within that space, bouncing off the hard surfaces. And so what you tend to do is put in a lot of soft materials, which has a high NRC, and that absorbs that sound and stops it from reflecting back into the room. So if you can picture a window being open and the fact that sound can pass through that window, that is the same concept as a product with a high NRC in terms of what it does for sound. Most materials that have a high NRC will in fact have a low STC. STC really deals with sound moving from one space to another, typically through a substrate like a wall. So if you're designing apartments and you're thinking about intertenancy noise, sound from one apartment to another apartment, STC is the value that you want to look at. Normally, when we increase density and use products such as concrete, something that is dense like that, that has a great STC value and it stops sound going through that substrate. When you have a product that has high STC, it tends to reflect the sound back into the room, and that is when you then need a product with high NRC to absorb that. STC, it does relate to these, it is measured in this way. If you look down the left-hand side, you'll see different values that relate to STC, and it gives you an idea of what those values mean in terms of audible sounds. So 25 is very low, and that's when you can hear from one room to another normal speech, and it can be understood quite easily. And then right up to 60 plus, which is superior soundproofing, and you literally cannot hear the sound that's being created in one room and another room. So typically intertenancy between one living area and another, we look up at around 45 to 55 STC is what is generally acceptable. So NRC and reverberation, they go hand in hand. Reverberation is really when a sound source starts, and then it is the length of time it takes for that sound source to stop emitting energy. And that is measured as a reverberation time. And again, that is something that you may come across when you're designing spaces specifically for acoustics. And that is what an acoustic engineer will look to reduce. It is that RT time that he wants to reduce, and he will use products with a high NRC to achieve that. NRC, when you're looking at products specifically, and you'll see this on our website when you look at products, NRC can be the same, but it can actually perform differently when you look at the actual absorption graph, and that's what I'm showing you here. There's 3 different products that have the same NRC, which is an average, but actually one works at lower frequencies, which is the red line, and then they all work quite well at the higher frequencies. So you really need to consider that, and acoustic engineers will specify products that work at different frequencies to give you a space that works really well. And this is going on to this again, and it shows that NRC, it is an average across certain octave bands. And so that is why you get an NRC that can be the same as another product. Because it's an average, when you actually look at it across the frequency bands, it can be quite different. So those 2 graphs are products with the same NRC, but you can see they perform quite differently. You want to look at the low end frequencies traditionally to absorb the bass sounds. So that will be within music studios, media suites, those types of areas where you need that low end absorption. When you're talking about a classroom, typically you need to absorb at a higher end frequency, which is where teacher's voice, female voice, children's voices are at that higher end. But if those rooms are being used for multi-purpose, then you need to consider some low-end absorption as well. We do have some examples. This is, I think that's the technical part of the session over. Again, you can get quite overwhelmed with the technical side of acoustics. And I think as architects, you shouldn't be too nervous around that, because there are experts and engineers that can really provide a lot of that help and support. And we are here as well at AUTEX as the manufacturer to help you navigate some of this terminology as well. So now we'll get on to some videos of some products and some spaces that we have helped treat with our products. The first being this Dragonflight Studio, which was a collaboration we did with DreamWorks in and around an exhibition at a museum that's gone around the world, and we created a custom 3D acoustic tile for them. I'll stop screen sharing so that you can share the video. I'll just head back to, I think the video is not quite ready, so let me just head back to the presentation. So we have two videos to share. They'll come online in a second, I think. So this is a space, it's MediaWorks. It's a large media studio in New Zealand. And both these two walls here are within the atrium, the reception area of the building. They really wanted to put in some high-end absorption. So they wanted to treat a lot of the space within this foyer area. And what we did is we created two walls made out of our Cube product, which you'll find on our website. This is a PET compressed needled felt in a 12mm thickness. And what we have done is we've water cut different shapes in the left-hand wall. We've water cut different sort of ribbon techniques, and then we've layered them up together on the left-hand wall. So that takes what would be a hard reflective plasterboard wall and has now created a soft absorbing wall that has multiple layers and provides a really good aesthetic, a really good textured wall, but also provides a great deal of absorption. And then this yellow product here, that is created through water cutting some lines into our product, which allows the product to bend with a hinge. So each one of those folds is a separate piece of our absorbing material, and that is folded in half and then held in place with a clip system. So it creates this 3D acoustic wall that also traps some air cavity behind it, which enhances the acoustics even further. So the whole idea with this space is people wouldn't know that those two walls are there as acoustic walls. They're there as a very high impact visual wall that is created out of products that also provide that absorption. You'll see there's some large speakers set into the reception desk there, and they do play music quite loud in this space. So they do need some high-end absorption so that people can speak whilst the music is in the background. This next structure is a large atrium within a commercial building. And what we've done is created this big white square, almost like icicles hanging from the ceiling. That is individual pieces of our acoustic material that have been cut and folded into these large rectangles with an LED light sitting in the top. So this is a large light structure that is there really as a high-end aesthetic, but it actually does a great deal in terms of absorbing sound within that space. You can see there is a lot of glass, the glass ceiling, the glass walls, that creates very reflective surfaces. So if there was no acoustic treatment within this space, then you would get a very, what we call the cafe effect. We get a lot of people talking, and that amplifies and becomes louder, and then people speak louder to be heard, and that then creates more and more sound within a space. This here is our custom Frontier system. This was in Australia, and by creating, it's a fin system, and then by creating different depths and different shapes with each fin, you can actually create a 3D structure on the ceiling. This product we have global patent around the channel and the fixing system so that this can be installed without any glue, and it comes with all the necessary pieces for an installer to install that as a full system. The space here is a large church and prayer space, and we created by molding our product into these large acoustic tiles. So when we heat up PET as a panel, we can then, with pressure, mold it across a mold that we make, and it holds that shape afterwards. So this is fixed onto a timber ceiling. This is glue fixed. Each individual tile makes up a frangipani flower, which was a theme here as Pacific Island Church. Because the tile is 3D, it has an air cavity in behind it, which again enhances the acoustic properties. Where to find our products? We've just launched a new global website, and I'd suggest you all go and have a look if you'd like to have a look at more of our products on there. We have up here, there's acoustic products, and you'll find everything you need in terms of inspiration galleries. You'll find all the technical information, and it gives you the ability to be sent samples by post or to download the digital pack that you can literally drag and drop certain material into your plans and into your designs. We're just about to install a printer, which is, we believe, the first company to do so that can print our products in-house. So this takes a range of our products that have typically been restricted by color. There's only a certain number of colors you can choose from. And now we can print either full color onto any of our panels, or we can start to create some custom prints, or use some of the standard prints that we will be making available. So this means as a designer, you can pick a landscape, you can pick a company's image, you can create your own patterns, and you can apply that to any number of our products moving forward. Another example of this here is how lifelike the printing can be. So this is a printed wall in behind a commercial office desk. So there really is no limitation to this. There's a certain file format that you need to provide, but it does allow you to take a space, combine it with artwork, and also combine it with acoustics. Just quickly, in terms of cleanability for our product, I know there's a lot of attention at the moment into how well things can be cleaned. Being PET, if you imagine a Coke bottle, how easy it is to wipe that down and how inert that is to moisture. So we recommend cleaning and disinfecting the surfaces by using an alcohol or an ethanol diluted to 70%. So this information all comes with our products, but it just gives you an idea, if you're having the conversation, that ethanol has been proven to kill the SARS virus, and that is perfectly okay to use with our products, as long as you follow the recommendations that come with our product. So I'll stop sharing now. Just seeing if you've managed to get those videos to work.
For the video, and we will play it. But now
so when this project came along, it was a really great opportunity to show the world what we can do in taking what can be a really complex situation of acoustics, different dynamics of that environment, and give it a truly innovative and inspiring solution. So it's something that we're really, really proud of.
The Dragonflight Theatre is the main highlight of the exhibition. So we've got this 180-degree screen that wraps around the audience, where we take a ride on the back of the dragon Toothless from How to Train Your Dragon. So we wanted to take an element of Toothless and bring that into the theatre space. And so it was a way to keep the visitor interested and excited on their way in and out of that space.
How we've gone about it is we've used the room to create a mathematical model of the reverberation time within the space, and then applied our scale tile, some quiet space panels on the ceiling, to control that reverberation to a level which is conducive to watching cinema or being within a theatre. We selected 4 types of scales in different dimensions to give a broad concept selection, and then refined them with CAD models, and then presented them through the Papa and the Australian Centre for Review. It was a unanimous decision by the selection committee.
The project team said that the experience was going to be really loud, but because the way we centered the theatre within the middle of the exhibition, there was quite a lot of potential for sound spill. So we really needed to look for a solution that was able to contain that sound, but still be able to crank the volume.
AUTEX is built on a philosophy of sustainability and doing things differently and doing things right. So we choose to use more and more recycled content in our product. So the products that have been used in this project are made from a high recycled content. So that's PET plastics that have had a previous life, have been recycled and then reused by us. We don't add any chemicals or anything to those products so that they can be recycled post-use as well. It's a really important philosophy to what we do.
Just in the process of working with AUTEX, I noticed quite a strong social and environmental responsibility there. And it's something that will inspire me to continue to work with AUTEX. I think that's quite important and something that just comes through in the way that they work.
The acoustic experience within the theater was superior to the one that we have here. And the experience of having the sound fill the room and not have that reverberation, I thought created a superior viewing experience in the theater. And if you combine that with the fact AUTEX had gone the extra mile to create this really themed look and feel, it was a fantastic outcome for Te Papa as a result of that.
The next video is around Hilton Brown, which is a swimming pool complex here in New Zealand. And swimming pools are traditionally very difficult spaces to treat. You have, even water is quite reflective, and often it's quite a difficult environment because you have a lot of moisture. You have a lot of sort of warm air that doesn't get circulated very often. Plus, you have a lot of teaching that goes on within that space, a lot of young children and teachers, and a lot of multiple groups teaching within a space. So the sound can get extremely high and very difficult to treat. So this was one of the first thin acoustic ceilings that we created. Again, it's called Frontier, and you can find it on our website. But this shows you a little bit in terms of how we treated that space and the custom design that we put in, which looks fantastic, and it makes the space work incredibly well. We'll just play that video. Yes, here we go.
The original vision of the project was to create an acoustic installation sympathetic to the Hilton Brown swim school environment that was child-friendly, fun, had a calming effect over the patrons and also the coaches and people that work within that environment 8 to 10 hours a day.
The biggest impact on our staff is fatigue, because they have to talk, I call it yelling, but they have to talk very loud. There's some kids we talk had hard of hearing or deaf, but they weren't, they just couldn't hear. And the parents couldn't hear what was going on in the lesson. Now they can.
Well, first of all, we partnered with acoustics and we had them out to measure up the space based on the plans. Then from there, we put together a set of concepts, or we settled on a water droplet radiating out from an asymmetric point within the ceiling. And then Marshall Day did a set of calculations on that to make sure that it would attenuate the environment to an acceptable level. And once that came back, Luke and I built the whole swimming pool as a 3D model. From there, was able to plan the project manage out.
The teachers love it and the coaches. The whole mood of the place is quieted down. It's probably half the volume it used to be. And so it's a much more pleasurable place to be. Ceilings are normally boring, and that pool now, the ceiling is quite a significant design feature, and it's added to the whole environment. And people now look at it and go, wow, what have you done there?
It all went really, really smoothly, right down to every single nut and washer was supplied, accounted for, and ready to go up. And we worked really, really closely with ATS to make sure there were no fixtures because of the tight time frame that was before.
AUTEX as a company were brilliant to work with. It was really easy from the sales process, to the installation, to the design. I was dealing with people that knew what they were doing. And to me, it made it really easy. And I didn't have any headaches. Came in under time, on budget, and it looks really good. So for me, I thought AUTEX was probably one of the best companies I've dealt with.
The original vision of the project was to create an acoustic installation sympathetic to the Hilton Brown swim school.
Fantastic. So those are two ideas, I guess, around how we approach and treat two different spaces. There's a range, as I say, a range of ideas and photographs and case studies that we can present, depending on the project that you're working on. So I'd suggest that you do reach out either to HighPoint or ourselves if you do have a challenge that you're wanting to combine some acoustics plus some great visual spaces, and I'm sure we can work together. Cindy, that's the end of my presentation. So if there's any questions, more than happy to answer those.
Yes, thank you, Rob, for a brand new insight of interior acoustic that we often used to ignore, yet as impactful as part of problem that we often complain about. So I will open the question and answers for all attendees. Kindly press raise hand and type below the relevant questions. For two best questions submitted, will each get 500,000 rupiah of shopping voucher to purchase at HighPoint Official. Well, while we are waiting, Rob, I would like to ask about what are the basic steps needed when designing interior that's suitable for ears according to AUTEX Industries?
Sure. When you're approaching any space, it depends really on the design of the building and what's already there, or if you are building it from scratch, what other surfaces and available space there is. Our products tend to adhere to the walls or be fixed to the ceiling. So those are the two spaces to look at. Ideally, on a ceiling, if you don't have too many penetrations coming through and you have a lot of clear space to work with, we tend to say at least 50% coverage of the ceiling with an AUTEX product is a really good rule of thumb and a great place to start. If you're treating the walls with some of our product like composition, which is a roll form product that we do a lot in education, we tend to suggest that you cover at least two adjacent walls. So if you have two walls opposite each other, a lot of sound bounces back and forth between those two walls, which creates a flutter echo. So if you can treat 2 adjacent walls, so 2 out of the 4 that are side by side, you tend to break the chain of this flutter echo, and it is a great start point again. So there are some basic rules when designing a space, and we're more than happy to help you approach that. It does get to a certain point where we need to engage acoustic engineers if a space is large, if it's used for a specific purpose, or if it's an odd shape and has different ceiling heights and different spaces within it. Hopefully that answers your question.
Okay, that's quite that is quite understandable. So we have question here. Okay, there is a question. How is AUTEX material different from other acoustic material, for example, like rock wool or glass wool? And why do you call it premium acoustic material?
Sure, those are great questions. As I said, our material is made 100% from polyester, PET plastic. So that's got a large component of recycled PET plastic in there. And PET plastic, if you can imagine a Coke bottle, it's very strong. It lasts a long time. It can get wet. So all these properties carry through into the polyester products that we make. We don't use any other binders in our products. So we use heat, we use pressure, and we use needles to give our product its strength. So it can be recycled at the end of life because all it is polyester. Whereas some of the other products that you mentioned, rock wool, glass wool, they tend to have other binders and other chemicals in there to hold it together. So I'd say the real difference is how long our product lasts, how durable it is. And in terms of premium acoustic material, given the products that we produce, the options with thickness and the fixing systems and the way we fold products to create cavities is all gives you that premium suite of products to choose from that operate right across the frequency and gives you a range of different products to use when treating a space. And also our customization. We have an in-house design team that can help design different custom solutions that are individual to your project and to your customer. It does come with a premium price tag, obviously, and that is, I think it's easily explained because of the lifetime of the product, how long it lasts and how well it performs across the range of different frequencies and NRCs that we produce.
Okay, well noted. Hopefully the question has been answered enough. And there is another question. Oh, this question is regarding the cleaning and maintenance for AUTEX product. So the question is, does AUTEX material help COVID virus to live longer?
Sorry, I missed. Oh, yes, material COVID virus to live longer. I'd certainly not say it helps the virus to live longer. Our product is hollow core and fused fiber, so it doesn't encourage bacterial growth and those sorts of things. If you have, for example, a liquid that falls on the material that has some of that bacteria, etc., in it can grow within that medium, but our substance certainly wouldn't encourage it, just like a Coke bottle or a plastic bottle wouldn't either. I think the virus, and I'm certainly not an expert, but it does live for a certain amount of time on various surfaces. But our product is extremely cleanable, so it does give you the ability, when specifying in a commercial space or in a public space, to be able to clean it really easily, I guess, to provide some peace of mind.
Okay, so it actually okay to be cleaned, but with the manual guidance that you mentioned before at the end of the presentation, isn't it?
Yes, so
Okay.
our products all come with a cleaning guide. So they give you, which you can pass on to your customer, a table that gives you a certain stains and certain reasons why you'd need to clean it, and then it gives you the ability to go and clean it.
There are two other questions, and I will read it. One of them is, if the wall panel have a stain, visible stain, I think maybe like a marker or lipstick stain or oil, how to clean or treat the sanitation of the product?
Sure. This, as I said, we have a cleaning guide that's available on our website that gives you a very detailed breakdown of how to clean certain stains. So there are certain stains that need more of a harsher clean than some others. But we say anything from a carpet shampoo. A lot of our products are on the wall. So if you're cleaning the carpet, you can clean the product on the wall. That tends to do a really good job. Or there are some citrus cleaners that are available that can also do the job. And again, we do recommend bleach in some instances, but a very diluted bleach. So the best thing to do is to look at our cleaning and maintenance guide, which is available on our website and does come with our products.
Okay, well noted. So, and next question is, how many % of AUTEX material is recycled? And does it have certification or at LEEDS point?
Sure. Absolutely. There's in terms of certification, there's a bunch of green certifications that we subscribe to, and LEED is one of those that we're on board with. Recycled content is an interesting one. As a manufacturer, we say we use at least a certain amount, rather than some manufacturers will say they use up to. So if we said we used up to 100% recycled, in some products, the percentage is extremely high, around 87 to 90% for some of our products. And then other products, we're down at around 65%. So what I would suggest is when you go online to look at our products, there is a data sheet that sits behind that. And each data sheet does say how much, what percentage of recycled content is in that product. And when we say at least, that means there is, we're not claiming that it's up to, we're saying that it has at least that. So it's very transparent in terms of what you're getting in relation to our product.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Rob. And this is the last question from anonymous attendee. In order to custom order or new pattern or specific details, which range can you do the custom or also the MOQ, if you don't mind to answer about the minimum quantity?
Sure. It's not so much quantity for us. It depends. If it's a new product that we are creating, it will have a minimum order quantity, and that's typically the length of product required to run through our machine. So typically, if we're looking at a standard panel size, our minimum order is typically around 30 panels. If we look at a custom color that we're creating for you, that can have, for our roll form products, up to around 250 linear meters. So it does depend on the product that you're after. But for our custom cutting, where we can cut shapes and we can cut patterns, our minimum order quantity is relatively low in terms of 1 panel or 2 panels. Okay. So I suggest that you reach out and ask those questions, and we can help you through that, depending on the design that you're trying to create.
I see. So better before we do the purchase, we have to discuss a little bit more about the design and the specific details like the dimension or the color or maybe the cutting technique.
Sure.
Okay, and there is another question. Can AUTEX material be used to stop transfer of sounds from one room to another?
Sure. So that's talking about STC, which I spoke about earlier, which is really where you want to add density to your wall space to stop sound passing through. So we create insulation products which sit in the wall cavity. So if you had plasterboard on either side and our acoustic insulation in the middle, that will increase the STC value, which would stop sound transferring from one space to another. If you're talking about our acoustic products that have an NRC value, those won't stop sound traveling from one room to another, but they'll reduce the amount of sound within that space. And if you reduce the sound within a space, less sound is going to travel out to the next space.
Okay. Well, note, I see. So the AUTEX product is not only the acoustic product that reducing the unwanted noise like echo, but also there is another product that stops sound transfer from one room to another. Okay, okay.
Sure.
And I think we still have time for one last question. There is an anonymous attendee asked, is AUTEX material suitable for clubs or restaurant? And does it have problem with fire safety requirement? Because maybe the public space is quite big for acoustic treatment.
Sure. And the answer is absolutely for clubs and restaurants. Our products are fantastic. A lot of restaurants, you have a lot of hard surfaces, you have a lot of people at capacity all at once, so you get a lot of noise, and people tend to talk louder and louder to be heard over and amongst the chatter of everybody else. So restaurants, certainly, I think restaurants that deal to acoustics, I think, get much better reviews and people have a much better experience there. Fire safety requirements, certainly we test to a range of building requirements and standards, and typically, depending on the products that you're looking to use, all that information is on the data sheet. And again, for your country, there will be certain standards that are accepted, whether that be the British standard, the American standard, New Zealand, Australia. So I think certainly, again, we can provide some help and service there in terms of helping you decide what products best suit your market, depending on what the regulations are.
Okay, I see. Well, not. So I think there is no more questions. And I think the time is almost finished. So let's move to the closing segment. Thank you for all the attendees that anonymously attend the question sections. And for the winner, we will inform you by email. We'll personally text you for more details about the voucher. And here we are at the end of the segment. Thank you so much, Rob, for your kind sharing, and for AUTEX Industries for sharing all of the knowledge and the product details. And well, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rob. And thank you
Bye.
so much for everyone. See you on another HighPoint Talk. Let's hear, learn, and collaborate. Bye.
See you. Bye-bye.